Hey everybody, it's Jason Blaha here, and today I want to chat with you guys a little bit about why your squat and deadlift probably suck. And they probably suck because you have weak glutes and weak hamstrings. Now, for a lot of you out there, maybe your squat and deadlift aren't bad. Maybe they're pretty good. Maybe they're pretty good. But this still might be a weakness for you. But usually this is what I see the most with younger guys who come to me for help, or I look at their videos, or clients that I have, or even people who have come to me for consultations, because I do one-off consultations over Skype for people. And when you look at their form and their other issues going on, that's usually your biggest problem. And it tends to be extremely common among guys who started skinny. Guys who started underweight. Not people who started overweight, they have their own set of issues. Guys who started underweight tend to have really, really weak posterior chains in general. But more specifically, they have weak glutes and weak hamstrings. And it really, really prevents them from progressing on these lifts. So what you normally see is that when you take people and you put them on a novice linear progression, and this is kind of the trend that I've noticed. The guys who started a little bit tubby, who start with something like a novice 5x5 or whatever, they actually get to my strength standards pretty quick. Even if they cut down a bit and they start off doing these exercises early, they tend to hit these things. But what you usually see with guys who started underweight, their glutes and hamstrings are weak. And they'll misidentify which one it is too, right? They'll misidentify it. You'll get skinny guys who say, well, my hamstrings are really strong, but I think just my glutes are the weakness. And the reality is they have weak hamstrings too. They usually have both weak. Both are weak. Because it's kind of hard to completely separate the two, isn't it? Right? Every exercise that works the glutes tends to work the hamstrings, and vice versa with a few exceptions. So unless they spent all their time on a glute ham raise, which would be more hamstring dominant, or a hamstring curl, if they have weak glutes, they have weak hamstrings too. And for most of you guys out there, that's what's limiting you. It's not your quads. Not your quads. Because I'll see that with a lot of guys who are weak at these things. Are like, well, so I think that it's my quads because I struggle breaking my conventional deadlift off the floor, and I've read that can be quads. No, guys, we're talking about 700-pound deadlifter who struggles to break 710 off the floor might need some quad work. Like when you deadlift 365, it's not your quads. Same thing with the squatting. Why, if you're seeking a really big squat, you shouldn't be a quad dominant squatter anyways. You need to learn how to use your glutes and your hips on the squat. Right? If you're trying to be a quad dominant squatter, you're going to limit your squat strength. You're going to limit your squat strength. And you know, for most guys out there, your simplest solution, just do good mornings, right? Doing good mornings right there. For most guys out there, that will solve it within a few months. If they learn to do them correctly, they fight through the discomfort. But here's the thing that's interesting with that. Here's what's interesting. Guys who have really weak hamstrings, or they have very low work capacity in their low back, they don't like good mornings. They are uncomfortable. They cannot find a way to make them comfortable. They hurt. Their hamstrings hurt. Right? Their low back hurts. And some of it comes down to they try to use too much weight. They think that they need to put 150 pounds on there. You guys just watched me doing work sets, high reps of like, 145 or something. And you're going to watch me squat well over 500 pounds. Watch me deadlift 600. Okay? How much weight you really think you need on a good morning to grow those areas? I can tell you, most of you guys out there who are starting very weak, you get to where you can do sets of 15 with 95 pounds with really good form on your good morning, and you're probably going to break a 400 deadlift. Right? You're probably going to break a 400 deadlift off that. Good mornings can be a very simple and elegant solution. Simply put, because you can do very, very high volumes of them. They're easy to recover from. because we're forced to use a lightweight, yet they put an enormous amount of work on the erectors, hamstrings, and to a lesser extent the glutes. Okay, you can do a ton of them. If you can do a ton of training with an exercise that hits all those muscles, you're going to grow faster. Another solution would be something like glute bridges, hip thrusts. I use both. But I think people need to look at the weights being used and put that in perspective. Start looking at the ratios. You guys see what I deadlift, right? You just watched me do up there in this video like a 10 rep set with 485 on the glute bridge. Okay. So what's that tell you? So if you're stuck at a 365 deadlift, how much weight should you be doing on a glute bridge? I'm going to tell you right now, you better get past 275 for 10. All right? How about a hip thrust? Right there, I'm doing what, 430 for sets of 10? Squat mid 500s. Okay, do the math. You're stuck at a 300 squat. How much weight should you be doing on these? Okay, if you use 185 pounds for a hip thrust, and that's your 10 rep max, well, it's pretty obvious why you only squat 300 pounds, isn't it? You have weak glutes, probably weak hamstrings. See, these are different. These exercises are different because these you do use big weight, and you have to use big weight. These are big, powerful movements. Here we go. You can assess your hamstring strength real quick on a glute ham device. This is a device that if you have weak hamstrings, will leave you in agony. You do glute ham raises even with your body weight, even on the easiest settings. You have weak hamstrings, you'll know it real quick. Your hamstrings will cramp. You'll get on a glute ham device with the easiest setting. You're going to do 3 to 5 reps, maybe 6 reps, and you're going to step off of it and your hamstrings are going to cramp up. Okay, there you go. You know you got weak hamstrings. But the 4 movements you've seen me do in the background, those are what I build my squat and my deadlift with. So let's come over to the other point. Maybe your squat and deadlift are pretty decent. Maybe you squat over 400. Maybe you deadlift 500. But you're stuck. I want to look into what your glute and hamstring exercises look like. You might want to see how strong you are on them. You might want to even do rep work on a good morning and see how much it hurts and where it hurts. They'll tell you a lot. They'll tell you a whole lot. But most of you guys out there, the reason you suck at these lifts, not your quads. For a lot of you, it's probably not even your traps. It's the muscles you're not addressing. It's the ones you can't see. We can make you the argument for the deadlift and squat too for your erectors. Right? All those muscles you can't see, because you can't flex them in the mirror. Right? Your erectors, hamstrings, your glutes. That's why you're weak at these movements, because those muscles are weak. And it's making you weak. And it's making you more injury prone. Because if you're interior dominant and you don't have strong glutes, you don't have strong hamstrings, you're the guy who's going to talk about how squats hurt his knees one day. You're going to be the guy who's going to pop a hamstring when you go to do a hill sprint one day. Right? You got a muscle imbalance. And muscle imbalances make you weak and they make you injury prone. All right? So, work on them, guys. Build your glutes, build your hamstrings. You'll be surprised how quickly you get good at these lifts all of a sudden. You'd be surprised. And that's the ironic thing. I'll get guys who'll see that and be like, I don't see how the glute ham raise will improve my squat And it's like, well, that's why your squat's weak. Because you don't understand, you don't see why. Because you don't understand how to train. You don't understand how these muscles work together. You don't understand the squat. You need to fix it. All right, guys, but that's really all I have to say on that today. I hope it's been informative, and I will talk to you guys next time.